Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Daily Bolt with your host, Dr. Jeff Tilley. Tonight's topic, another update on Fred, which remains a tropical depression, and threats to the Florida coast are diminished. Sit back and relax and enjoy today's Daily Bolt. So, Fred has provided some surprises for us today. In particular, the track forecast that we had thought was very good last night because most of the models were clustered together was not bad, but Fred has actually taken a track slightly inland over Cuba, and it remains to be seen, as I'll show you shortly, whether the storm itself is completely reorganizing just to the south of Cuba. I'll tell you why that might be a possibility in just a moment or so. But first, Fred has not strengthened to tropical storm status at all today. It remains a 35 mile per hour tropical depression and has moved farther west over the coastal regions of north and northwest Cuba and actually somewhat inland, not terribly far inland, but far enough that the circulation of the system continues to be affected rather dramatically by the landmass, and this has prevented any additional intensification. Now, and we look at the water vapor image, I'm just going to bring that up shortly now in a second. This shows something very interesting. This particular image is from this evening, and getting it nicely into the screen. There we go. Fred is right here where I'm indicating with the mouse. And you see a little bit of a spiral band structure over the central and northwestern Bahamas, coming around through Cuba and looking like it's curving in to this mass of deep convection just to the south of the island of Cuba. Significantly farther south than the last fixed position of the storm from the National Hurricane Center, which I will show shortly in the next slide. But it's basically significantly farther to the north over the Cuban landmass. There's an additional swirl here, a suggestion of a little bit of a spiral here, and it would not surprise me at all to see that the circulation of Fred is actually reorganizing just to the south of Cuba, which will make a considerable difference in the forecasted track, even more than the National Hurricane Center has adjusted. That track forecast is here in this slide, and again, the 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time position, which is 8 o'clock p.m. here Pacific Time, that was about an hour and a half ago from when I am recording this, was inland over the north central, northwestern Cuban, northwestern Cuba. With apparently some of the circulation was expected to still be over shore because much of the rain that was associated with Fred earlier in the evening was off to the east and the north of this center. But this water vapor plot that I just showed you suggests something else, that the highest concentration of water vapor, and you would expect the thunderstorms associated with the system to have shifted farther south, perhaps even in the last hour and a half, because this is a current water vapor satellite image. And again, the greens, the more intense the green, the more water vapor, the more you would expect there to be thunderstorms associated with that particular area. So we have a track forecast which may itself need to be adjusted farther to the west. For Fred's matter, it has not yet really made its turn to the northwest, and in fact its motion, which was west-northwest last night and early this morning, became exactly due west earlier today, and it has been continuing that at a slightly faster speed than it was moving last night. And the adjustment in the track currently from the 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, 8 o'clock Pacific advisory already has shifted the track of Fred significantly farther west over the Gulf of Mexico, such that the almost the entirety of the state of Florida will be spared direct impacts from the center of Fred. Just the far western panhandle near Pensacola and the Air Force facility in the vicinity of Pensacola will be the only part of Florida to really get a direct hit potentially from Fred. And that also shifts not just the wind hazards, but the rainfall hazards much farther to the east than they were in the forecast that we saw last night. If we just slide this over ever so slightly, the heaviest rains in the 6 to 10 inch category, for the most part, will be confined to the Florida Keys, maybe the most southwestern parts of Monroe County, which also includes the Florida Keys, but the mainland part of Florida that is included in Monroe County, and possibly areas near Apalachicola and potentially the Big Bend area slightly to the east. 4 to 6 inches of rain, largely confined to regions over the Gulf, with the exception of, again, Monroe County, probably Miami-Dade County, maybe Broward County as well, and the middle and lower Florida Keys, as well as the Panhandle coastline, roughly from south of Tallahassee, extending over to about Destin. So the impacts from Fred to Florida look like they are going to be significantly diminished. And if indeed Fred is reforming to the south of Cuba, it is pretty likely that this track forecast will then be shifted even farther west, so that potentially Biloxi, Mississippi might be the landfall point for Fred, with the anticipated turns to the northwest, north, and eventually northeast. We will keep you posted on this potentially new development, which I'm not sure anyone else has reported on at this point, of Fred potentially reforming to the south of Cuba. We'll see how that plays out over the next 24 hours, and we'll have another update for you tomorrow evening, by which point Fred should be at least impacting, if not passed through, the lower Florida Keys. That's it for this edition of the Daily Bolt. I'm Dr. Jeff Tilley. Have a good night, good evening. Yes, they're the same thing. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on when you're listening to this, and a good weekend for the weekend of August 14 and 15.